Now that you're familiar with the budget inputs non-personnel discretionary sheet, let's start building your budget. So the first thing you want to do here and every time you go to a new sheet is just to double check that you're in the correct budget version and level. Right now we're in the top level. If you enter information here, it will not be summed up correctly. In fact, you can't enter information here anymore because it's all grayed out. So you always want to make sure that you're at the general, grade, or department level. Since we're going to enter enrollment with this demo, we want to start on the general level. Next thing we want to do is, again, check our time periods. This time I am going to click on the little show and hide icon, and I want to see FY13 years, FY14 months, and years. So I'm going to uncheck quarters for FY13 and click OK. Okay, now my screen looks the way I need it to. You'll see that all of the enrollment numbers have been pre-populated in this section. You'll also note that each month has the same number. You should follow this format when budgeting your own enrollment, even if you're expecting some fluctuation in the number throughout the year. The enrollment numbers you should use are for the number of students you're expecting to have enrolled on October 1st, 2014. This is the number that all of our revenue projections are built off of, and we need your enrollment to be aligned with those revenue projections. So let's say that we want to change our kindergarten enrollment to 105 instead of 100 kids. So I'm just going to type in 105 over this row. And since I want the same number copied forward, a little neat trick we can use is to right click and then go down to this thing called copy forward and copy to end. And so you'll see this number is copied all the way out through June of 2014. Those are all the changes I'm going to make to my regular enrollment. So right now I'm just going to click save to lock in that work I just did. If you want to change sped enrollment, you can just type a number over any of these cells the same way you did with your regular enrollment. Now if you remember, the little purple triangle means there is a formula in that cell. You don't have to be afraid to overwrite the formula. It's okay. Because the cells are white, it means you can edit them. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually edit my 60% or above sped kids. And I'm going to change this number to 20. And again, copy it forward. Okay, so you may have noticed that clearly I did that in the wrong category, and I did that for a reason. And that's really just to show you how you basically undo a change you didn't intend to make. So there's this little icon up here, and it's called Clear All Edits. Now you have to be very careful when you're using this icon because it can, it can do some pretty powerful stuff. For instance, it can erase all of the work you've been doing for the past hour but haven't saved in the blink of an eye. So make sure that one, you're saving your work often, and then two, that you absolutely know what you're about to clear when you hit this icon. I know that I'm only clearing this sped number that I just put in, so I'm going to click Clear All Edits, and yes, and you'll see it brings my formula back. But let's actually dig into these icons a little bit more. So you know what the Clear Edits icon is. You know what the Save icon is. We've also used the Show and Hide icon. What are the rest of these icons up here? This little printer looking thing is called Printable View. It will basically export this sheet to Excel. The green circular arrows are Refresh Sheet. This will update your totals after changing a linked formula. You probably will never use this unless you build your own locals tab. Word to the wise, if you want to update your sheet, just save. Now copy, cut, and paste unless you've been on the moon for the last 50 years. I'm sure you've used these things before. I just want to make a quick note that you can also use the Control plus C, X, or V as a shortcut key for copy, cut, and paste. Now the add, delete, and rename splits functions we are not going to use in this demo. There's a demo called adding splits activities and notes, which will use these functions, and so I'm just going to skip the explanation for now. And then you have the Cell Explorer. This can be used to drill down into a rolled up or formula-based cell, or to view a cell's audit trail. So those are all very good to know. But let's go back to inputting numbers. So you can use that copy forward method of inputting numbers for any expense in your worksheet, any expense or contribution in your worksheet. You can also just put a number in any month where you expect to incur that expense. Again, this is building in some seasonality into your expenses. So for example, let's suppose that Washington Heights Academy Elementary, they expect to purchase $10,000 of new furniture in July and $5,000 in August, both for their new third grade classrooms, and then another $2,500 in August for couches for the teacher's lounge. They also expect to spend about $8,000 for the year on office supplies, pretty much spread out evenly. So in order to input these expenses, first I'm going to scroll down to the equipment and repair section of my sheet. And here I'm going to enter the $2,500 for the teacher's lounge furniture, because remember, I'm on this general level, and teacher furniture is something that you would probably put in a general level if it's for a lounge. Then I'm going to scroll down to office supplies, and remember, I want to do $8,000 for the year, spread out pretty evenly. So one thing I can do here is just to go into the FY 2014 column and put in $8,000. Now, as soon as I try to click out of that column, it's going to ask me how I want to break back that $8,000. The reason it does this is adaptive planning actually budgets by month. So while it allows you to put a total in, it's going to split that expense back out, and it wants you to tell it how to do that. I'm going to break back evenly. Click apply. And now you'll see that expense was spread out evenly across the year. Now let's click save. And now we're going to change levels, and we're going to input the furniture for third grade. Scroll down to furniture, and I'm going to input the $10,000 in July and $5,000 in August. And so right now you're probably wondering, all right, so if I input all these expenses at different levels, how do I know how much I'm spending overall? Well, you can see all your expenses in aggregate at the top level. So let's go back there. You see this pop up? This will happen if you make edits to a page and then you try to leave that page without saving them. Now, I do want to save these changes, so I'm going to click stay on page, then I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to go back to the top level. So if I scroll down to the equipment section and scroll over to July and August, what I'm expecting to see and what you should be expecting to see is $10,000 in July and $7,500 for August. However, from the looks of it, it appears that someone else, or even me, has entered additional numbers for furniture expenses in these months. To find out what level these expenses were entered, you can use the Cell Explorer feature. Now remember, the Cell Explorer icon is this magnifying glass. You can also right click and go to Cell Explorer. Alright, so now I put in this $2,500 for the teacher's lounge. I put in this $5,000 for third grade. But now I also see this $6,700 expense in kindergarten. So if I click on it, I see that this is a $6,700 value. I can even go a step further and click on the audit trail, and it's going to tell me who entered that value. All right, let's click out of this screen. So believe it or not, that's the basics of expenses, of entering expenses into adaptive planning. Now you know how to input enrollment, enter expenses by level, copy expenses forward, break expenses backwards, drill down into expenses by level, and perform an audit trail. Tune into the next training to learn how to add splits, activities, and notes.